Hey there, Tiffany Thomas with wealthytiffany.com, and in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the number one change that you will need to make in order to become financially free. And this is something that I had changed on my own, and that is the biggest change that helped me become lean financially free. So before we dive in and I share with you what this number one change is, if you are ready for financial freedom right now, comment freedom below in the comments. And if you are serious about fast tracking your financial freedom, then click the link below this video in the description and I can help you do that. All right, let's talk about this number one change that you'll need to make in order to achieve financial freedom. And this is huge because I wasn't doing this in the beginning, and once I started doing it, it made a huge difference in my net worth. I was able to grow my net worth exponentially because I had made this one change. And the one change that I had made is going from a saver to an investor. And this might sound easy for some of you, but it was really hard for me. And I just want to talk about 3 misconceptions that people have, and these are things that I felt or that I thought about investing, and that's why I wasn't doing it. So I want to address these 3 misconceptions to hopefully help you overcome any fears that you might have regarding investing. And if you were like I was, being a saver rather than an investor, I think this video is really going to help you. And if you already are investing, but maybe you are a little timid about it, then I think this will help you as well. And if you guys already have concerns about investing, put them in the comments below so that we can talk about those as well in case they aren't one of the 3 that I'm going to bring up. All right, the first one that I want to talk about is the misconception that saving is safer than investing. And this was my mentality. I thought, okay, well, if I save my money, if I put it in the bank, it's going to be a lot safer than if I put it in the stock market, which is risky. And that's not the case at all. Because when you put your money in a savings account, you might be earning 1%, maybe 2%, depending on how good the interest rate is in your savings account. And inflation is around 3%. So you are actually losing money by just leaving it in your savings account because you aren't even keeping up with inflation. And when you are investing in the stock market, on average, the stock market returns 8%. So you can minus out that 3% and that will leave you with a 5% return. So your money is actually growing. You're not losing money because you're not leaving it in your savings account. And I get that people think that the stock market is very risky, and I'm sure they've heard other people say, oh, you know, my dad, he lost all of his money in the stock market, totally went broke, couldn't retire, all of these different scenarios and different cases about people investing in the stock market. But if you do it correctly, it can be very effective and you can make a lot of money by doing so. And I have seen that in my own life by switching over from being a saver to becoming an investor. And the second misconception that I want to address is that investing is hard and confusing. That is exactly how I felt about investing. I remember having a 401k meeting at one of my previous jobs and going in there with all of my coworkers, and the 401k rep came in and he stood up there and said, okay, we have all these different funds that you can invest in and you just need to pick a couple and put your money in them. And I was thinking, what in the world are you talking about? I don't know what all of these funds mean. I don't understand. It was very confusing to me. And now that I've done just a little bit of research, I understand so much better about how to invest my money to make it work for me and to be successful in the stock market. And what I've learned is that you can keep it very simple. And you don't have to have your money in multiple funds, in 10 different funds, and have individual stocks. You can actually have just 1 or maybe 2 funds and put your money in that and just leave it there and continue to add to that same fund. So when you get your next paycheck, you put more money into that fund and you just keep adding to it and leave it in there. And over time, it will continue to grow. And it's really not that hard. And, a good way to look at it is if you feel like you have a ways before you're actually going to take money out of your retirement accounts, then you can invest in stocks. You can pick an index fund or an ETF. And if you have questions about those, I do have a previous video that explains the differences and similarities between mutual funds, index funds, and ETFs. So you can check that video out. I won't go over the differences in this video, but you can keep your investing very simple and just invest in one or two of those funds or an ETF. And it's just a fund that will follow the total stock market. So you don't have to keep an eye on the fund and see if it's doing well or not, because it will just follow the total stock market. So you can keep it very simple and it doesn't have to be super confusing. And I feel like a lot of times, if you sit down with a financial planner or financial advisor, that they actually try to make it confusing because they want to keep their job. Like they want you to work with them. And so they'll lay out a whole list of different funds, and they'll go through, okay, well this one has this, and this has, this kind of return in the past little while, and all these different things. And it becomes confusing when you're listening to that person try to tell you to invest in numerous different things, when in actuality, you don't need to do that. You can just keep it simple and not be confused about it, because you can choose one or maybe two funds, maybe a stock fund and a bond fund. If you're getting closer to pulling your money out of your retirement accounts, then you can, put a little in the bond fund to keep it a little bit safer. But you don't need 10 different funds to be invested in and worrying about, oh, do I have enough in the international market? Or, do I want to stay in the US or, emerging markets or small cap, large cap, whatever. There's all these different terms that get thrown around, but you can keep it very simple, like I said. So it doesn't need to be confusing. And once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay, easy enough. Like I can totally do this on my own. It's no problem. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm seeing great returns with the investments that I've made so far on my own, and have felt really good about that. And of course, I do realize that the stock market has continued to grow over the past little while. And, I'm not naive thinking that it's going to continue to be the steady upstream, right? The stock market will go up, but then it will take a dip eventually, but it always goes back up. And that's the next point that I want to talk about is another misconception is that people will say, oh, I'll lose all of my money if I put it in the stock market. And yeah, if you're doing it wrong, I guess you could possibly, but more often than not, if you're doing it right, if you're just leaving your money in there and you're not scared when the market takes a dip and you continue to add more money to your fund that you're invested in when the stock market takes a dip because it's on sale, and you leave it in there, you add more, then when the stock market continues to rise again, which it will because it always does, then you'll see your investments have grown and you're not going to lose all of your money. But if you aren't doing it correctly and you get super scared and decide, okay, well, I've lost so much already, I better just pull it out. When you do that, you're not losing all of your money because you're still pulling some of it out. So in essence, you haven't lost all of your money, you haven't zeroed out when you do that, because you're still pulling money out. Does that make sense? So it's not that you've gone into the negative by any means. That won't happen. You're not going to lose all of your money because you can be smart about it and you can keep it very simple and just have a plan in place to, like I said, pick a fund and continue to invest in that and not get scared when the market takes a dip, and to be a little flexible. Even if you are in retirement and the stock market does take a dip, pick up, a little part-time gig or a little side hustle for a little bit, or don't take your trip to Tahiti that year. Wait until the stock market comes back up a little bit to take your trip. So you can be flexible and not have to worry so much. Oh, is the stock market going to drop this year? Is it going to crash? Am I going to lose all my money? Because you won't. Like, if you're doing it right, if you're doing it correctly, investing correctly, you're not going to lose all of your money. Because as we've seen, and as I've said, the stock market continues to go up over time. It'll take those dips, but it always goes up. So I just wanted to share these 3 misconceptions with you guys to hopefully help you become a better investor. And, you know, that's exactly what I did. I was saving all of my money and had these misconceptions. But once I switched over and did a little bit of research and started doing it on my own, I didn't have those misconceptions anymore, and I really understood how the stock market really works. And I even have a video on that, so you can check that video out as well, on how the stock market really works. And the thing is, I wanted to share this with you guys. So once I started doing that, I was able to purchase another property, and then another one. So I have 4 properties total. And, you know, I did buy the first property with just saving my money. So I had a down payment, and I had just, you know, saved all of that money and was able to purchase that. But the thing is, if I would have just kept saving my money, there is no way I would have been able to purchase all of the properties that I have now, because the last property that I purchased, I actually took out a bunch of money from the stock market and put that toward my down payment on the house. And there's no way I would have been able to afford to do that if I had left my money in savings. And there's no way I would have been able to achieve lean financial freedom already. There's no way all of my basic expenses would be covered, because that money in savings would not have grown nearly as much as when I had put the money in the stock market, and even in real estate as well. But especially in the stock market, because I saw over 100% return on some of my investments in the stock market, which is amazing to me. And you just, you know, if you have the right mindset and you come up with a plan, you can really be a successful investor. So I'm so glad that I just made this realization and got over these misconceptions and went from saver to investor. So if you guys found this video helpful, please like it and share it with someone else who would like to hear this information, maybe someone that is scared of investing. And if you guys are really serious about fast-tracking your financial freedom, make sure and click the link below this video in the description so that I can help you do that. And if you will hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that will really help me out. I would appreciate it. And if you guys have other ideas that you would like me to create videos about, please put that in the comments as well. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.